Okay, on with the motley, as they say in the classics, and here's a gentleman who is a pioneer of Australian television, and the people in Sydney are lucky enough to see him back on television. Nationally, we have to wait for a program such as this. Please say hello to Roger Climpson. Well, as I say, I mean, people in Sydney have the opportunity of seeing you, but we haven't really seen you nationally, apart from those commercials which make you a fortune.
They did.
Since this is your life.
Can I just first of all apologise for my gear? I'm sorry about this, Bert, but Bernard King refused to lend me his.
I must say that you look excellent. Of course, you're always known as a gentleman of sartorial elegance.
Thank you, sir. You're my agent now, are you? Thank you,
well,
sir.
I tell you what, the way you're going, the news is going very well. I wouldn't mind being your agent. I actually today not only represent your millions of fans throughout Australia, I represent a couple of hundred people who have been surprised by you over the years in This Is Your Life. It happened to me back in 1978, and Roger, I thought it might be fun today to declare Roger Climpson, this is your life.
You are kidding.
You'll be pleased to know, Roger.
Is my wife responsible for this?
Well, I'm not. Well, everyone's responsible for this, and I might mention, we won't put you through too much pain, it's only one paragraph. No, it's not. No, it's not indeed. Roger Climpson, your life began in Peterborough in England, right?
Correct.
Around about just over
yes.
50 years ago. Your father was a butcher shop owner, and here we see a little shot of you enjoying the wonderful delights of the British surf.
What?
That's you. Tell us about your early years in
Where did you
Peterborough.
get that from?
From your wife, I must admit.
Well, oh dear, the early years in England. Yes, well, that particular shot that you had there, I think I was about 4.5 at the time. And my father, as you say, was a butcher, and he owned butchery shops in Peterborough. And once a year, we used to go on a charabanc trip with all the other butchers who were part of my father's business to Hunstanton, where that was taken with me trying to catch shrimps or something, I suppose.
Right. You came to Australia first time in 1949, and this is a shot of you with one of your prized possessions that you had to leave behind. But then you, after coming here in 1949, you went home again very rapidly. What was the reason?
Well, basically because, like happens with so many people from England, the first time round, they just couldn't make the alteration or the change, my parents. And after 6 months, it just didn't seem to be working out. So they decided to go home, and I said I would go with them on the condition that I could become an actor. And they all fell on the floor and screamed with laughter at that, of course, you can imagine. But I persevered, and we went back to England, and I managed, more by luck than judgment, to get into the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art and become an actor, I suppose you could say.
And then back to Australia in 1951, so obviously you liked our country.
I loved Australia.
Which is now your country, of course.
Exactly, yes.
You started work in radio. You worked in famous serials such as Tarzan. Tell us about Tarzan.
Tarzan, yes, I did 1,500 episodes of Tarzan as the narrator. And as the narrator, I had the pleasure of screaming out the title, which went something like, Tarzan, King of the Apes!
Now, what? Just do the call again?
I can't remember.
As a matter of fact, I've got to tell you now that actually Roger was rehearsing that in his dressing room this morning and Bernard King rushed in. Roger, apart from Tarzan and various other radio serials, you also did a lot of theatre, including The Witch with Rod Taylor.
That's right, yes I did. Oh, there's a shot from it. Where else did all these things come from? That's a shot of myself with Rod Taylor and Barbara Brunton. That was 1952 or 53, that was, a long time ago. Of course, talking about that, can I just add there that Rod Taylor also played the first Tarzan.
That's right.
The second one was Bud Tingwell, and the third was Ray Barrett, and all three of those fellas did particularly well overseas, you may remember.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, well, after 1956, of course, the big medium in Australia was television, and you took to it like a duck to water, and you and Brian Henderson read news in the early days. You also compared Miss Australia, and then you took over This Is Your Life from Digby Wolfe in 1977. And you surprised people such as John Newcombe, the famous tennis player. He got his. Also Don Dunstan, former Premier of South Australia, and also a little unknown television performer, got his in 1978. Look at the hair, will you? I mean, mine, not yours. Your favourite story concerning This Is Your Life, I'm told, is one about Ron Barassi?
Yes, about Ron Barassi. Ron Barassi I had the pleasure of surprising here in Melbourne at the 75th VFL anniversary dinner, which was attended by anybody who was anybody, of course, including the Prime Minister, Mr. Gough Whitlam, and that shows how long ago it was. And they were all wearing penguin suits, of course, all dressed up in dinner suits, and I had the pleasure of going in there to surprise Ron Barassi. And I arrived and I said to people, where is Ron? He's sitting over the far side over there. I said, but which one? He says, it's okay, he's got his back to you. I said, look, I know Ron Barassi from the front, but not from the back. So how do I know which is Ron Barassi? No problem, they said. Look, here's the one sitting over there with the curly black hair, and also he is wearing a blue dinner shirt. Fine. I go in. Ladies and gentlemen, my great pleasure this evening to surprise somebody here for This Is Your Life. Tumultuous applause, everybody stands up, I walk across to the table, and as I just get over there, I suddenly, to my horror, realise that there are two men sitting with their backs to me, sitting side by side with curly black hair and wearing blue shirts. I thought, which is Ron Barassi? So I said, Ron Barassi, and not a single person moved. So again I said, Ron Barassi, and still nobody moved. I thought, this is going to be the greatest disaster of all time, in front of the Prime Minister too. So I thought, well, I've got to do something. So I walked right up to the table and stood between these two men and said, Ron Barassi, This Is Your Life, and I put the book in between the two, and thank goodness one pair of hands came out and took the book.
Isn't that beautiful? That's a lovely story, Roger. Roger, something you used to do to your various guests. I want you to listen very carefully to this voice.
Roger, you have lovely legs. We should do a play together sometime.
Well?
It's not Bernard King, I know that.
Who is it, Roger?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Well, nor you should. It's just one of our crew members who fancies you. Roger, one of the most important elements, of course, in This Is Your Life was always the surprise element. Unfortunately today, because of circumstances beyond our control, we had a very nice little surprise lined up for you, but because of a situation which we couldn't overcome, there's no surprise for you. But I do know your family is watching you and they're very, very proud of you. You have, naturally, a wife of, what, 34 years now?
Just about that, yes, I have.
And how many children?
3.
Yeah, and their names?
Stephen and Sally and Mandy.
Mm-hmm. And they all live in Sydney?
No, one lives in Sydney, Stephen in Sydney, Sally lives in South Australia, hello Sally, and Mandy's over in England at the moment.
Why wave at the camera? Sally is here to say hello to you.
You are.
From South Australia, Roger's daughter Sally and her grandchildren, Nikki and Natalie. Sally, welcome. I guess living in South Australia, of course, Dad is ensconced very heavily now into news reading on Channel 7. You wouldn't see much of your Dad.
No, but when we do, it's very special. Always very special.
Now, this is Nikki Ann, am I right there? And this is Anthony.
Anthony.
Oh, that's wonderful. Your dad, when you were a little kid, was he a good dad? I realise how busy he was with radio and television.
He was a wonderful dad, but I think one of the things I remember, for me, very intimately, is the time we spent on the boat together, just Dad and I alone. And we'd sometimes just go for a sail, just the two of us. That was always very special.
You bet your life it was. I can't believe this. I really cannot believe this. Is this what the 200 people before me felt, was it? It's
exactly. Well, I hope it's a nice feeling, Roger, because I know that when I had my lucky chance on This Is Your Life, it really is quite an experience. And let me tell you, not only to you, Sally, but also to the rest of the family, for people like myself in radio and television, to have a man such as Roger to look up to, not only as a performer, but the way in which he conducts his life, it's a wonderful thing. So thanks for coming over, and to Roger, well, this was just part of your life, but it's been a wonderful life, and thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bert. What a lovely thought.
Roger Climpson. And as I say, to you people in Sydney, of course, you see him nightly. After this break, more to come on The Bert Show.